Alright, welcome back to Tale 3 Cabins. I'm still down here in southern Ohio. I'm staying in my RV and it's a little bit noisy today. I may have to check with the HOA regulations to see what the time is for using heavy equipment. But we're going to pick up where we left off with the home project. Last time we had the house delivered. We showed you how they got it delivered and in position to be loaded onto our foundation, and then we showed you how they loaded it onto the foundation. And now there's a lot more work to do to get these two sides fused together, so let's just get started. Is there a little gap that always stays there like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You got to have room for that. That gasket's pretty thick, and that's got to compress.
Is there
Similar concept.
but the roof folds up or something?
Yes.
Or-
Similar concept, but a lot different steel. Since the frame's removed, and we got to put spreader bars across. Be the same concept with our beams, but then we got to go and put spreader bars.
The modulars usually come in two halves also, or
Yes.
is it? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then you got the roof to fold up and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I'd rather set one of these.
Yeah.
I really would.
How long you been doing this?
At least 25, 30 years.
Really?
Somewhere in that range.
Crews are like this, just one, or
One for us.
yeah.
When I used to work for my uncle, we had 4 crews that would go out.
Okay.
And I remember many years ago. I mean, between the 3 and 4 crews we had, I think we set 400 and some homes that year.
Really?
But
Wow.
things have changed too. The houses are bigger, heavier,
Yeah.
and they're more work than these.
Yeah.
They just plain are.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It was less work for me. So there's a crew of guys underneath the house, there's a couple guys inside the house, and then there's a crew on top of the roof. Basically, each crew is fusing the home together on whatever level they're working on. On top of the roof, they're fusing the roof together. They also need to put the ridge vent in, some shingles, do some tarring, and make sure none of the shingles were damaged during transportation. The guys up top will not only be working on the roof, but also fusing the siding and trim work on each end of the home.
Pick that up a little bit.
I had a previous comment asking just how they attach things down underneath in the crawl space area, and basically the house is bolted together, the two ends are bolted together down the middle, and then around the sill plate area it's a series of screws and nails that are used to attach the house to the foundation. The home was shipped with an ample supply of trim and even a sheet of, basically it's drywall that has the textured surface on the outside of it in case there was any damage to any walls during transport, and then the trim of course is going to be used to fuse together the two halves. We don't have power yet, but you'll notice the lights are on and they're using a generator out by their truck, and then they're back feeding into the home through an outlet. From there they threw a jumper in the panel so they can have all the circuits energized so they can use any plug in the house.
one thing I will need is my red carbon box.
There was a crack discovered here in this section of the wall, so it's being torn out and then it'll be spliced in with a new piece. A few more minor details they need to take care of and they'll pretty much be done with prepping. There's still a lot more to do, but it's coming to the close of their workday. Okay, so that's some of the post work after the house has been set on its foundation. A lot of things that still needed to be done pretty much to make this good to go. There's only a few little minor details that they missed. Up on top there, they're gonna have to replace some of that flashing. It just kind of falls short and there's a little gap. Perfect place to create a bee's nest up in the soffit area if that's not covered up. There's an open outlet there. I'm not sure why there wasn't an outlet put in there, but they're gonna take care of that. We still need to get the air conditioning installed. The electric pole is not come yet. They were supposed to come today, but they pushed that off the next week. So the electric pole is going to go just into the edge of the woods here and hook up to a new pole that they put down closer to the street. Once they have that in place, then they'll just go underground here, not very far at all, and attach it to the panel and get the electric hooked up. Then the electric company will come in, restring the wire from the new pole to the pole out by the street, and hopefully they can tie in and get that up and running. I was a little disappointed. The guy that's going to handle the septic came down with COVID. I really was hoping to get him out here while some of this work was being done here so he could see the change in grade, because I'm afraid now that they're going to do a final grade and then he's going to come in and have to tear everything up again, where maybe it would have been nice if he could have got his stuff in and then I could have had them do the final grade. So there could be a little problem with the timing there. Also, the water cistern is going to go in the back here. There's a spring that we're going to try to tap into off the hillside. I haven't checked it. It hasn't rained in about 10 or 12 days. I think I'm going to run up there and try to check and see if there's even anything coming out of it. Well, still wet after 2 weeks without rain, so that is a good sign. I think we are going to use this. It's only running during a rain and maybe a few days after a rain. That'll still suffice for us. We're still going to tap into that. If we find something in the future that's a little bit better, we could always tie into the existing line that we run to that spring. So we'll see how that plays out too. All right, sorry about the lighting, but they're pretty much completed on the inside here. They got all the trim up. They fused everything together where the two halves come. They got a nice piece of trim on the floor where the two floors come together from the two halves. The beam up top looks nice. Over here where the two walls came together, that's looking good. Down the hallway's good. They got all the trim around the door frames. Everything looks pretty nice. They did find a little crack in the wall from transportation, but they cut out that piece and put a new piece in. So everything's looking good here on the inside. Now there's not much happening tomorrow, so I'm probably gonna take the RV and go home, but from now on, every time I come out, I'm gonna try to bring something with me to put in here that was either from the old cabin or is supposed to go to the new cabin. So I got a bunch of twin box springs and mattresses and some end tables and some other stuff that's filling up our breezeway and sunroom at home. So now every time I come down, which is probably going to be in about 3 or 4 days from now, I'm going to bring those mattresses. If for some reason there's going to be stuff happening consecutively, I'm thinking that I will just use those mattresses. Instead of bringing the RV down, I'll just kind of rough it in here. I'll bring a couple power stations with me, maybe a 12-volt cooler. And if I have to spend the night, I can spend the night, use the emergency outhouse that we still have over there by the shed. But that'll be the game plan from here on out, is to just try to bring stuff with us. We actually picked up a dining room set that we need to pick up. We're going to try to get some furniture from Tennessee to bring down here, and we're going to get some new furniture in Tennessee, bring the old stuff down here. A lot of little coordinated efforts, going to depend on our schedule, what the weather's like. You don't want to be transporting this stuff in the rain. Every trip from here on out, we're going to try and make worth our while. For instance, this trip I brought down the dining room set, had to assemble it, which was okay because we could transport a lot easier since it wasn't put together. It's pretty warm in here right now, so I'm going to go back to the RV for one last night, crank up the air conditioning. It hasn't been too bad in the evenings, though. It's been dropping down in the mid-50s, but in the daytime it's been close to 90 and kind of humid. The only thing they mentioned to me was if I bring stuff in, not to lean anything against any outlets, because when they do a final inspection in here, they're going to test all the outlets, and the guy's not going to like to have to move things out of the way. Okay, and just like that, a week has gone by, and today they're going to come down and install the electric pole for the house. Yeah, it's kind of like a straight line with the way the trees are cleared out.
Yep.
Is the pole coming too sometime today or no?
Oh yeah, it's on its way.
Okay.
He's right behind us.
Yepper.
Okay. I remember I was here when the electric guy was here, and he said to put like a little lean away from that, so when it has a little tension, it straightens out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause that's a long span.
Using a bobcat to push things a little bit further into the woods so the pole can be set on an even line with the clearing that's open by the street. From this new pole, the line will go underground and conduit into the house. This pole is going to sit 30 feet up in the air. The old pole that we had was 25 feet long. It's a little bit longer because this driveway that was used to offload the house has been elevated some, so they wanted more clearance for the power lines. A couple bags of sackcrete were thrown into the hole and some dirt on top.
Hey, open some windows up there.
Yeah. Well, my septic guy got COVID and now he's in the hospital. So
That sucks.
I think I'm gonna. While these two gentlemen are working on getting the wire from the pole to the house, the other gentleman's working out front and he's getting rid of some of the scrap that was used to bring the house here. This was part of the trailer that the home sat on. Now they did give me the option to keep some of this stuff, and I thought about it and figured this might make a nice little swing or good for hanging up a deer, but then I thought that it's probably just going to sit there and then 10 years from now I'm going to try to figure out how to get rid of it. The conduit's been run from the house to the pole. Now they just need to put some conduit going up the pole and thread all the wire through. In addition, there's going to be two 8-foot copper ground rods installed, one right by the pole and the other one about 7 feet away from the pole. Then lastly, they set the electric pole. Now the electric company is going to have to come out and run their wire over. They're also going to have to see, because of the height of the pole, if that pole is going to need a guy wire maybe established once their power line is strung through the woods and across the driveway. That distance might tug on the pole quite a bit. So now on the subject of septic, I talked to my septic guy today. And if you remember, I mentioned that he had COVID and he couldn't come out last week, which would have been good timing. But he had COVID. I talked to him today and he ended up going in the hospital because of COVID. And he's having a pretty rough time at it. And from what he's saying and how he's feeling, that he is probably not going to be back to work for quite some time. So now I'm scrambling to try to find somebody else to do the septic work. Also now I'm going to have to find somebody who also can tap into our spring, because our original septic guy was going to do that as part of the package deal. I had another gentleman just come out this evening and look over things, and he looked at where the septic lines are going to have to go and the wooded area over there, and he felt that he did not have large enough equipment to mow down and to clear aisles for the leach lines, so he recommended me to call somebody else. So I called that person, left a message. Everything is up in the air on the septic side of things, so I think progress is going to come to a screeching halt until we can get this taken care of, get the water situation taken care of. And then there'll be some little things after that. We'll need to do a final grade, decide just how much driveway in the front's going to be, how much things are going to get tapered. Is there going to be a lot of extra dirt left over? Where are we going to put this extra dirt? A lot of decisions going to be made on that front. But right now we're just trying to get somebody to come in here and do the septic system for us. It looks like that is going to be a little bit more difficult than we hoped. Of course, it's the beginning of summer, and probably a lot of construction companies and these septic companies probably have a lot of work already lined up. Now trying to squeeze us somewhere, we're just going to have to play it by ear. I don't foresee anything happening with this place for a couple weeks. I did not bring the RV down this time. I'm actually going to stay in the house tonight. I didn't know how many days I was going to be here, so I kind of prepared for about 3 days. But if I don't get any other contractors coming out to look at things, the house company is pretty much waiting for me on my end. There's probably not a lot to do down here come tomorrow. I might just pack things up and go. But in the meantime, I hooked my power station and I backfitted into one of the outlets so I could have some lights so I could talk to you this evening. I've been using my solar panels outside. That's where things are at right now. I appreciate everybody watching. Hope you enjoyed and subscribe to these videos. Click on that little bell when you want to know when new one's coming out. And keep an eye on us. Let's see how this thing all pans out. Take care, everybody.